draw him into our life. So regarding the children, I usually make the announcement after the Jaya Madhava. If they begin to make noise, with all due respect to your children and to yourself, we would ask you to please remove them from the temple room because they simply divert the attention of all of the listeners and they create disturbance as well. So if we have more of what I'm hearing now, then the children must be removed, okay? And if I have less, then you don't have to remove. His Divine Grace, Vedanta Swami,
Yeah.
ISKCON Phoenix, Srila Prabhupada ki,
Yeah.
Ananda Vaishnava,
Yeah.
Namaskar Srila Haridas Thakur,
Yeah.
Praise Guru Shri Krishna Chaitanya. We are going to Vedanta Srivastava, go to Bhakta.
Yeah.
Shri Radha Krishna Gopina, Shamu Radha Giri Govardhan. Mathura Dham ki jai, Mayapur Dham ki jai, Jagannath Puri Dham ki jai, Ganga Mai ki jai, Yamuna Mai ki jai, Tulsi Devi ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Samave Bhakti ki jai. All glories to the Son, all glories to the Son, all glories to the Son, and all glories to Shri Shri and Guru. Om Grandasya Gananjana Salakaya Chakshurumaditam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisances unto his lotus feet. So I would like to begin by speaking just briefly about the external reasons for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's appearance in this world. In every age, there is an avatar that is especially appointed. There are 4 ages: Satyuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapara Yuga, and Kali Yuga. Satyuga occurred many millions of years ago. It was an era or an age of purity, complete purity. Truthfulness, austerity, mercy, and cleanliness prevailed and pervaded amongst all persons. There were no such things, if you can believe this, as bad people. They were all good people. Everyone was reverential, everyone was God-oriented. It was the time of purity. Everyone knew what his duty was. And when he chanted the name Om, and I talked about this morning, all the Vedas were revealed. He could know all the 4 Vedas, which came to be divided by Vyasa later on. But a person who would chant Om is not the same as we chanted. They chanted in a state of purity and could penetrate the depths and the meanings behind it and could understand and know the Vedas. Ancient times, the Vedas were not written down. They had different kinds of memory than we have. Sometimes we find somebody, even our age, who has what we call an audiographic memory. you read a book out to him aloud, and he could repeat every word after one hearing. Lord Chaitanya was such a person. Of course, he was God. He is God. But there are some persons who could still do that, but they're very rare. There are some people who may be less rare who could open a page of a book and just scan it very, very quickly and tell you what was on the page of the book. Have you ever met? Those persons generally do very well on examinations because they have some extra special ability, special power. And if you just read it, you can remember it. Well, you don't have to do what most of us do. You go over and over and over and over and over until finally after a half hour it sinks in. So they also do very well on spelling bees. Especially many of the Indian children do extremely well. They're usually the champions every year. You always see an Indian-looking face there. They're known for their incredible memories. They literally read the dictionary and memorize how the words look, and consequently, usually the finalists are from India. It's amazing. Can somebody move this to the side over here because it's attracting my eye? Silver, thank you. So, getting back to the main subject matter. So that was Sati Yuga, the age of truth, the age of purity. And then after 1,728,000 years, we entered into another era, or another age, which was known as the Treta Yuga. Treta Yuga, in Treta Yuga, the persons begin to diminish in their purity. As I said, truthfulness, austerity, mercy, and cleanliness are the four pillars on which the society stands. If you take out any one of them, the society begins to tumble. You take out cleanliness, everybody gets diseased. And then you have plagues, you have all sorts of problems. You take out truthfulness, and everybody begins to deceive one another. They tell lies to one another. And they hope that they'll get away with it. And nobody trusts anybody. And it's a very horrible type of environment to live in, or society to live in, where somebody tells you something and you don't know whether to believe or not believe. So in Treta Yuga, one of the limbs became lost, and then the next era was the Bhakta Yuga, which lasts for 864,000 years. That was the era in which Lord Krishna was present. In the first era, Hamsa was present, and I'm not sure of the Yuga avatar. Anyone remember the Yuga avatar for Treta Yuga? It wasn't Lord Ramachandra, somebody else. Because his color is red, Lord Ramachandra is greenish. So, and then in this era, we have the golden avatar. Avatar means incarnation. Incarnation means when purity or spirit descends into flesh, but the flesh is not material, it's spiritual, because it's completely suffused and completely transformed into pure spiritual or transcendental essence. It's not like it looks the same. Krishna looked like a human being, and if you felt his hand and you shook it, he felt like a human being, but his form had infinite power. For example, if he wanted to eat with his eyes, he could do that. If he wants to speak from his ears, he could do that. He had unlimited, infinite ability. That is the nature of the pure, original personality of God. So when it was time for the Yuga avatar of the Kali Yuga, which we are in Kali Yuga now, we're at least 5,000 years plus in. It was time for the incarnation to appear, and it just happened to be that incarnation is golden or yellowish, and that incarnation is predicted in the scriptures. It's in the Srimad Bhagavatam, it's in the Mahabharata, it's in the Padma Purana. So the name is given, his mother's name is given. So these predictions were made many, many hundreds of thousands of years ago. So Lord Chaitanya was to appear in this world, and the reason for his external appearance is that he was to help us overcome the miseries, the difficulties, the tribulations, the trials, the problems, the pressures, the tensions that we are heir to in this particular age, especially since everything has become so mechanistic and technological. We have labor-saving devices, so many of them. And even though they save us time and they save us labor, it doesn't make us any more peaceful or more happy or more satisfied. Actually, they distract us more, they make us more nervous, they make us more jumpy, because if they don't work right, even myself, my computer, it goes down, what do? Of course, I have tech support, and they usually get it going. But sometimes you're in a time bind and you only have this computer, and when things go wrong and you're used to them going right, it can be difficult. So what Lord Chaitanya wanted to do is to enable us, to help us to become joyful, to become peaceful, to become strong and confident and secure. When we identify ourselves with our physical body, and I think that this is me, and I want to enjoy through this material body, I want to enjoy through my mind, I want to enjoy through my intelligence. And if in some way, some manner, they are threatened, they're disturbed, they're shaken, then there goes my enjoyment. So that kind of pleasure, that kind of enjoyment is very limited. It's temporary. You have it and it's gone. You hear some pretty music, and then after a while, it's gone. You take a nice meal, you take some ice cream, or you have some papaya or some mango, you eat it. But if you just keep eating it, after a while, the taste of it will rapidly diminish, and the mango will not taste as good as it initially did. So these are all temporary pleasures. Sri Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, an intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery. They don't take part in the sources of misery, but which the sources of misery, which are the senses. The more that we become attached to sense pleasures or sense objects, that will result in attachment to those objects. And those objects keep us in the material world. How in the material world? Well, if you become attached to some pleasurable object and you want that object, you want to keep that object, even though it's then what happens is that at the time of death, if we leave this world with those desires in our mind, whether it's a mango, whether it's a papaya, or whether it's a piece of pizza, or whatever it may happen to be, if that's what we desire, if that's what has become your all in all, then you have to come back and take another body to enjoy it again and again and again. And with that other body will go all the difficulties, the tribulations of the body. We get dejection, we get diseases, we get accidents, we get injuries. All these things come to us. Many people think they just come by accident. That's not the case. Everything is karmically planned. Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, he mentions this. I am seated in everyone's heart, and I'm directing the wanderings of all living entities who are seated as in a machine made of material energy. So Krishna is in charge of giving us our karmic reactions. Karma is action, and karmic reactions is the result that you get from that. For example, if you eat too much ice cream at one time and you get a bellyache, that's the karmic reaction. Or if a person takes, for example, just to give an example, a lot of coffee before going to bed, then the reaction is you won't be able to go to sleep because you'll be jittery, you'll be nervous, jumping like that. These are what we call instant karma or instant reactions, but very often karmic reactions take place sometimes a day later, sometimes a week later, sometimes a month later, and sometimes years later, and sometimes lives later. That can happen. It all depends upon the karmic schedule that Krishna has us on. Certain things can be, certain reactions can take place quickly, and others may have to wait due to other lengthy reactions which take place, such as marriage, such as having children, such as maybe divorce, or such as the jobs that we have, the education that we have. All of this is part of our karmic reaction. Certain people never get educated, they don't have that opportunity. Other people do get education. Certain people are born with higher intelligence, certain people are not. So all of these differences that we see in the world are the result of actions that we have performed. When we follow the instructions of the Supreme Lord, which are in the Bhagavad Gita, how many of us have read the Bhagavad Gita? Okay, got most of you. Good. So as the Bhagavad Gita says, one should understand what is duty and what is not duty by the regulations of the scriptures. And by reading them, we will know what we should do, what we should not do, what is whimsical or impulsive, and what is valuable, and what is acceptable. So the Bhagavad Gita is full of guidance, it's full of direction, it's full of understanding. So Lord Chaitanya came, and his chief contribution was to set in motion what we call the Sankirtan movement. Sankirtan means, technically, literally, it means congregational chanting. But in a broader sense, it also means the chanting, which really is nothing more, nothing less than the propagation of the Lord's names, which means, my dear Lord, please engage me in your transcendental loving service. This is what we're asking for when we're chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. So we're asking for that. And by doing so, the Lord hears our prayer, he hears our entreaty. And the result is that gradually he engages us in different kinds of activities. You may come to the temple and you may become engaged in different activities that are going on here. But we also learn how we can engage in loving service to the Lord in our homes. We learn, as Krishna says, whatever you do, whatever you eat, whatever you offer and give away, whatever austerities you perform, please do that as an offering unto me. In this way, you'll be free from the bondage to work and its auspicious results. With your mind fixed upon me in this principle of renunciation, of giving, you will come to me without doubt. He also says to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, he says, therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me. Therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me. Therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna, and at the same time perform your prescribed duty of fighting. With your activities dedicated to me, and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will come to me without doubt. So Krishna is saying, get your mind on me, get fixed on me, get focused on me. There's so many distractions, so many diversions, so many things pulling you this way and that way. This TV program, that movie, this magazine, this newspaper, this party, that. You don't have a moment to think of Krishna. And so what happens is we become entangled in all of the different activities that are pulling us this way and that way. And there's so many people come to me and they say, well, I just don't have time to think of Krishna anymore. If you ever did have time for it. That's why I did all of these CDs, actually MP3 CDs. They are the books of Srila Prabhupada, and those of you who have USB ports in your car or you have a CD MP3 player, you just plug in a CD, and if you have to drive for an hour, you can just hear Srila Prabhupada's books. You can hear the Bhagavatam, the Chaitanya Charitamrita, you can hear the Nectar of Devotion, Nectar of Instruction. So many wonderful books instead of hearing the same old news stories. This one got shot, and this kid, he helped liquor store. This one, I mean, it's just on and on and on. It's pretty much the same, or they have these wonderful chases, you know, police chase for 2 hours, and everybody sits there just wondering whether the car is ever going to come to a stop. How much gas he's had? Seems like he's got 1,000 gallons in there because it never stops. He goes from one freeway to another. So the point is this: is these are all distractions and diversions. They don't help us. They don't support us. They don't strengthen us. They don't invigorate us or vitalate us. Rather, they do the very opposite. They wear us out. And at the end of the night, we said, what have I accomplished for the day? Except I sat and I watched for 2 hours this particular news, breaking news. But it did it broke our spirit. That's the only thing that gets broken. But nothing else. So Lord Chaitanya, he came to propagate this teaching of Hare Krishna, because the name Krishna, the name Rama, the name Hare, these are all spiritual names. They're fraught with spiritual vibration. Krishna name is the all-attractive one. Rama's name is the pleasurable one, and Hara is the name of Srimati Radharani, and who is the pleasure potency of the Lord. So when we chant these names, we should know that the name Krishna is non-different from himself. So when you say Krishna, you're actually touching Krishna. We may not be aware of this because of the subtlety of the touch, but nonetheless, because it is a spiritual vibration, and we utter it with our lips and with our voice, and it is imported. And that's literally, it's imported from the spiritual world. That's what they do in the spiritual world. They chant the holy name, and they keep chanting it, and their ecstasy continues to increase. Their joyfulness increases. This upliftment, it increases. So what Lord Chaitanya saw is that, and knew, is that if we chant this holy name, the impurities that exist in our heart, like the lust and the anger and greed and envy and illusion and pride and also sluggishness or laziness, all of these types of qualities can all be overcome by the eager chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. And when we know what we're doing, even if we don't, and not immediately, initially experiencing that state of ecstasy, that deep state of peace, that deep state of inner strength, even if we don't get that initially, some of the teachers who teach this, we should be, you can get it from them. For example, if you listen to Srila Prabhupada's lectures, you hear his inner strength, you hear his joy, you hear his peace, you feel peace in listening to him. I don't know if you get the same from me, but it's a far cry. But the same thing, the main point is that the teachers should have the faith and the conviction and the understanding and the love in bringing this to you so that everyone can have that peace, that strength, that security, and that happiness. And it's all available. So that's what Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he wanted all of us to be peaceful. And the more we chant this, not just when we come together, which is excellent, but this should be the springboard which then projects us outside and we continue chanting. Because why not? If something is good, if you're associating with the Supreme Lord and his wonderful qualities of peace and joy and so the child has to be removed. Sorry. Thank you. If you keep quiet, then fine. Want to give it a try? You can stay by the door anyway. Okay, so the qualities that Krishna brings is patience and understanding and love. By the way, this is not like my own policy. This is Srila Prabhupada's policy. If your children make noise, you always ask them to leave. And I always hope that nobody gets insulted by that. So the peacefulness, patience, understanding, tolerance, purity, knowledge, wisdom, all these qualities become your qualities as a result of simply chanting the holy name. So that's what the external reasons for Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu were. There are many, many pastimes. Generally what they did is they went out on the streets, especially in Jagannath Puri, and they would just chant for 4, 5, 6 hours in a row, and people would hear the chanting, and they would start chanting, and then so many people got the chant and began to feel the joy, the ecstasy, the happiness, and the pleasure, which crowned all the other actions, your family actions, your business, your educational, all these things began to glitter and to glow with the result of the chanting of the holy name. Now, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who, as I said, is the yellow or golden incarnation, he also had some personal reasons, not only, as I said, external or reasons for bringing the holy name. His personal reason was that there were 3. First of all, as I said already, Lord Chaitanya is who? What is his original form?
Lord Krishna.
Lord Krishna, yes, that is his original form, blackish, but that blackish form is covered with a golden color. Why golden? Well, I'm coming to that now. Actually, he came to this world to know 3 particular things. Krishna wanted to know, what did Srimati Radharani's love feel like? Let me tell a little about Srimati Radharani. When Lord Krishna was just alone, by himself, Srimati Radharani was a part of him as Krishna. Krishna had a masculine and the feminine side. The feminine side is called the Ladini potency. So when Krishna wanted to he was always blissful. But we wanted to increase his bliss, increase his pleasure, increase that happiness. What he did is he projected the Hladini potency. Hladini means, as I said, pleasure potency, and that manifested in a female form known as Srimati Radharani. So that female form is the personification of pleasure for Krishna. That pleasure has nothing to do with anything really physical. It doesn't depend upon, for example, sometimes people think, well, when you speak of pleasure, are you talking about sexual pleasure? Unnecessarily. The kind of pleasure I'm talking about takes place in the heart, as opposed to taking place in the genitals. And that pleasure which takes place in the heart is of a much higher, much more sublime, much more rarefied degree. And it requires purity of heart, purity of mind, purity of intelligence. So Srimati Radharani was coming directly from Krishna, was purity personified. And she knew exactly how to give pleasure to Krishna in different ways, whether it was cooking, whether it was singing, or playing a musical instrument, dancing. There was nothing that she could not do beautifully that gave pleasure to Krishna. And it would excite his spiritual feelings so that he actually felt great joy in her happiness, in her company. So this was the situation with Krishna. So Krishna began to wonder, Srimati Radharani she's expressing love to me in such a great degree, such a great influx, such a great amount of flow. What does her love feel like to her? He couldn't figure it out because actually he's Krishna. He knows what his love feels like to her, but he doesn't know what her love, which is so much stronger, so much more powerful, because he's the beloved and she's the lover. She's the Prakriti, he's the Purusha. And so he became very curious as to what it felt like to be Srimati Radharani. What does her love feel like? And the only way he could know that is by assuming her form again. Initially, remember, Radha and Krishna are one, then they come two. And in order for Krishna to know what Srimati Radharani's love for him feels like, he's got to assume the mentality, he's got to assume the feelings of Srimati Radharani. And so that was the first reason that that Lord Krishna wanted to come to this world. As I said, it was time for the Yuga incarnation, but it was also time to set in motion a mini Satya Yuga. I talked about Satya Yuga at the very beginning, that everyone is pure. Well, that has already started again. There will be a 10,000-year era, and it's already started with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then we'll go on, and although there's so much corruption going on now, there's so much criminality, there is so much impurity, there's so much filth, there's so much deception, craftiness, and all of these things. Notwithstanding, don't give up hope, keep heart, because as things go on, what will happen is persons will become so desperate, so unhappy, so miserable, and so disgusted with the authorities that they have been believing in to help them, that they are now looking for the only ultimate authority, which is who? Krishna, the one who made it all. So when a person begins to turn to Krishna, look to Krishna, pray to Krishna, and beg for the Lord to help, and the Lord gives help, then one recovers his faith that he originally had lost. Lost it in what? In thinking that he himself is like a Lord. I can do it, and we hear this so often, I can do anything if I just put my mind to it. We can't do anything unless we have the grace of God. You can't speak without the grace of God. You can't see without the grace of God. We can't chew our food. We can't digest our food. You can't walk. You can't do anything. But we're thinking we're the doer. And we give no credit to the one who's actually enabling it to happen. Krishna says that I am seated in everyone's heart. And from me come knowledge, remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. I am seated in everyone's heart and directing the wanderings of all living entities. I am responsible, but they think because they don't see me, they're too blind to see me, they're not pure enough to see me, therefore they think they're the ones that are making it happen. And I allow them to have that illusion. Why? Because they want to feel like God, they want to feel important, they want to feel valuable, they want to feel laudable, They want to feel praiseworthy. So if that's what they want to have, if they feel that that's going to bring them the happiness that will sustain them, fine, you can have it. But ultimately, it never lasts. All that kind of happiness is nothing more than just illusion. Yet you have it. For example, I remember many times in the 1950s, because I'm older than most of you, in the 1950s, they used to have these cigarette advertising on billboards. Of course, that became banned once it got exposed that they actually do cause cancer. So they would have these actors or actresses or singers holding a cigarette, and I'd walk a mile for a camel, things like that. Lucky strike means fine tobacco. How do I remember these things? I was only 5 or 6 years old, because in those days we had radio, and then you would hear these commercials over and over. Lucky strike means fine tobacco, LSMFT, LSMFT, or Pepsi Cola hits the spot, 12 full ounces, that's a lie. You can't help but remember those things because it was pounded into your head. You walked past somebody's window and the radio was blaring Pepsi Cola. So that's what when you have to take a test, sometimes you can put down on your exam, Pepsi. No, that's the wrong thing. So, important thing is that the important point is that all these things tend to be distractions, and these billboards would have these different advertisements. My point was that when we would see a famous actor or famous musician or famous advertising or endorsing these things, then because we are identifying with our God, and all of us feel some degree of inferiority, and you identify yourself with some actor or some musician or some lawyer or some whatever, and you feel, well, he does it, then I'm going to do it. So everybody starts smoking. That's illusion. Nobody's really tasting the smoke. Nobody's really inhaling the feeling of what's doing inside. So we're raised on illusions. And the purpose of Krishna consciousness is to get rid of all the illusions so that we can truly be peaceful. If you go on smoking just because your favorite actor or actress says, yes, this is great, this is wonderful, this will really make you happy, well, then you'll become as sick and as cancerous, most likely, as that archetype whom we've come to believe in. And it's not necessary. So in Krishna consciousness, we unbridle ourselves, or unclothe ourselves, so to speak, of all the illusions that we have, which have been born from the ignorance of who we are. The first thing, we're not our body, we're not the mind, we're not the intelligence. We are the spirit soul within. And the soul is forever, it's eternal. For the soul, there is neither birth nor death at any time. It has not come into being, it does not come into being, and it will not come into being. It is unborn, eternal, ever existing and primeval. It is not slain when the body is slain. It's eternal. So that's who we really are. And when we begin, now this is knowledge about something. But when the knowledge actually becomes realized means you experience yourself as a soul, as opposed to merely knowing that you are a soul. But first you have to know it in order to pursue the activities that will purify us so that we can ultimately experience it. And that's what all of these teachings are about. Enabling us, helping us, fostering us, aiding and abetting us to experience transcendental peace, transcendental strength, transcendental love. So that we will always be happy no matter what. And the things of the material world, the slings and arrows, as we say, about outrageous fortune, they will not bother us at all. We will see them, we will deal with them, get rid of them, and move on. But they will not affect us personally, because once we realize, once we know, once we feel that we don't die, we have nothing to be afraid of. It's the fear of death that causes us to get the shakes, and then we become anxious, we become uncertain, we become doubtful, start walking back and forth, all this nervousness that overtakes us, because we want to sustain the body forever, which can never be. The body must die. But we like the idea of possibly maybe I can keep it alive maybe another minute, another hour, another year, another day. Maybe I can take this vitamin, take this herbal, take this and that. We want to keep it going. And that's normal, that's right. Because ultimately, realistically, truly, we are eternal. But we've identified the soul has identified itself with the body, and consequently, it's trying to what? Eternalize the body. And the body can never be eternalized. It must. It goes through 6 stages. First it's born, then it grows, and then it develops, and then it produces some byproducts, and then begins to dwindle, and then ultimately it dies. You can't help that. We all have little baby bodies, then we have childhood bodies, youth bodies, adult bodies, middle-aged bodies, old bodies, this, and then nobody. Yes, you come from a body, you become a nobody. That's the way it goes. You can't fight it. So, death and taxes, unfightable. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, that's the first thing he wanted to do, is he wanted to experience, he wanted to experience the love that Srimati Radharani was feeling for Krishna. So in the mood of Srimati Radharani, he took on her mood, took on her emotions, took on her feelings, took on her understanding, and this upsurge. She was golden, that was her color. This upsurge had much to do with, instead of him having the black color, which is what we call his normal color, he had a golden color. That's why he's called Godahari, the golden avatar. So that was the first thing, was to find out what her love was like, and this he could find out by loving Krishna, even though he was in a male body, but he was in the mood of the female Srimati Radharani. The second thing he wanted to find out was what was Srimati Radharani would taste a sweetness from him. The way Krishna spoke, the way he smiled, the way he glanced. There was such sweetness, such beauty, such attraction there, that Krishna wanted to know what his own sweetness tasted like. And he wanted to know what his own sweetness tasted like. How could he know unless he's in the mood and in the feeling and in the persona of Srimati Radharani? So that's exactly what happened. When he began to feel exactly like her. And he went through her emotions. For example, when Krishna left Vrindavan, not only Srimati Radharani, but all her gopi friends, her girlfriends, they were completely devastated because they were all in love with Krishna. They didn't want her to leave. They wanted to, and the idea of him leaving felt like their whole life was completely being torn asunder. Like they had no one. He was their all. Has anybody here ever been in love with anyone? You don't have to be ashamed. It's that even if you have, when we're children, you have love for your parents, you see. And then sometimes you're sent away, maybe to a boarding school, or you go to camp for a few months, and at first there's a little bit of homesickness, and you start crying because you feel some separation. But then you get involved with the activities of what's going on in the camp or the boarding school, and that doesn't make that much difference. Similarly, the gopis of Vrindavan were so full of love for Krishna, because remember, he's the source of all love. Completely. Stay there. He's the source of all love. Hold my finger here. It's not the usual way I lecture. I think on the cord, but he's the source of all love. He's the source of all bliss, the source of all peace, the source of all strength, and the source of all confidence. So he was their all in all. So although he left, they were still with him in one sense. He left what he called his baba. His baba is a baba gives one the ability to remember that particular individual. So they always remember. It's a force. It's a power. It's a blissful power, so to speak, which the gopis in Vrindavan were exposed to. And in that bhava, in that remembrance, they would remember Krishna, and they would feel the joy and pleasure of being with Krishna. But they wanted more than just remembrance, because when you see somebody physical, that you want to touch them, that you want to put your arm around them, you want to hug them, You want to have a palpable, tangible experience. This is what they wanted. So although that was very enjoyable to feel him and experience it in their heart, they still could never compare that to actually being with Krishna. So they were always sighing, lamenting, crying for, where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? Hope he gets it done. We'll have to call a carpenter. So anyway, the important point that I want to make is that Krishna wanted to taste the sweetness that Srimati Radharani tasted. So in the mood of Srimati Radharani, he tasted his own sweetness. When he, so in other words, when he would see a picture of Krishna, or see a drawing of Krishna, or he would hear the pastimes of Krishna, the sweetness of Krishna would immediately come to him. He would taste that sweetness that Srimati Radharani would taste. That's enough. Let's sit down here. If you do it, I'll start. Not necessary. Yeah, it's okay. It doesn't matter. I don't even need this. Yeah, why don't you put it over to the side, because I had been trained in dramatic arts, so I can get my voice down here. So anyway, thank you. Anyway, so he felt the sweetness that Srimati Radharani tasted, and that was wonderful. And the third thing was that Srimati Radharani, as a result, whenever she would look at Krishna, or whenever she would offer something to Krishna, or whenever she would speak to Krishna, she would experience tremendous blissfulness, such intensity that she would almost go crazy. That's how much she loved Krishna. It was so intense. So Krishna, of course, wanted to know, what does it feel like to be that? Well, if you go into the Chaitanya Charitamrita, you read that, you read it, Antya-lila, you begin to see and realize and observe how Lord Chaitanya was completely, totally in the mood of Srimati Radharani, so much affected and so much affectionate to Krishna that he didn't want for a second not to look at Krishna. All night he was up lamenting and crying the way Srimati Radharani cried and lamented when Krishna left Vrindavan for Mathura. So he felt her sadness, he felt her lamentation, he felt her distress, and he was crying. In fact, it got to him so badly at times, he would sometimes rub his face against the side of the wall. It was so painful to feel separation. Some of us have had feelings of separation from someone we love, and sometimes it lasts for a day, a week, sometimes a month. Somebody dies, and it just tears you apart. I'm trying to give a human, earthly example, which really cannot truly compare, but it can give us some inkling, some iota of what Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was going through. And so he was just totally devastated. He couldn't do anything at that point. Those were the last few years of his life. He would have Swarup Damodar, who was his personal secretary, pure devotee, Ramananda Roy, who was close, intimate associate, who was a gopi, I believe was Vishaka, if I'm not mistaken. Please correct me, Vishaka. Yeah, Vishaka, one of the close intimates of Lord Krishna. And so they would read verses from the Bhagavatam, you see. And that's all it did. It just touched off like a nerve, so to speak. And Lord Chaitanya would go into a swirl of ecstasy, so intense, so overwhelming, with all the different ecstatic symptoms present, tears coming from the eyes, being stunned one moment, perspiring profusely, horripilating where the hairs of the arms and the neck go up, trembling, lip trembling, and sometimes such symptoms which are even unheard of, where he would fall down on the ground and his legs would kind of go up into his body like a turtle, or the arms would go in, and he would go into a deep, deep trance. There was no breathing going on, and then the only way they could revive him is his intimate associates. They would start chanting Hare Krishna, loud, loud, loud. So finally we could draw him back from where he was in the spiritual world. And then when he would come back, he says, why did you take me back? Anyway, the important point I'm trying to bring out is that he got to experience the blissfulness that Srimati Radharani experienced. Even if we were to experience one fraction of it, we would be just walking down the street, dancing and singing and clapping. You couldn't do anything else. But in the case of Lord Chaitanya, it went 180 degrees and all the way around. And all he was doing is, as I said, crying, lamenting. He would lose external consciousness. Not only that, but he would be in a room which was bolted, the doors, and then they would find him outside on the beach. You know, the beach in Jagannath Puri. How did he get out? He's God. He can do anything. And so I haven't found it explained how he got out, but I assumed it was some. He could. I don't even want to speculate on this. It's too far above my own. I mean, I can give you an explanation, but maybe have you read anything exactly how he got out of the room? You know, when the doors were bolted.
No, but I would say that in yogi, in Anima City, when yogi put him in jail.
Oh, right.
From a small hole, he escaped.
That's wonderful. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. There are different cities. Cities are perfections. And in those perfections, you can be smaller than an atom. You can be as large as the largest of mountains. You can fly in the sky. So if he made himself so tiny that he could just go through underneath the door, there are other means of doing this as well. But anyway, that makes the most sense that I've ever heard. So the important point is that what was he doing on the beach? He was just crying. Where is my Krishna? Where is Krishna? Where is Krishna? I want to be with Krishna, like that. And he fell into the ocean. He was completely in the swoon of loving God consciousness. So, therefore, those are the three different purposes. The first of which is to taste the love that Srimati Radharani had for Krishna. And we should all look at this, we should be aspiring to have that kind of love. I mean, there's so much love for our bodies, so much love for our mind, so much love for our intelligence, so much love for our cars, so much love for some of our neighbors, so much love for the for hair. And so if we can learn the love of God in such an intense, overwhelming, all-consuming way, then the blessings of the Lord will descend upon us. And we will feel those blessings as transcendental peace and bliss and strength and happiness. That's all it takes, because when you associate, if you put your cold hand on something hot, your cold hand will become hot. So when we put our mind on eternality, knowledge, and bliss absolute, those qualities begin to manifest first in us and through us. So we will be happy, we will be strengthened, we will be fulfilled, we will be uplifted, and we can share those wonderful feelings with others who may be suffering. And by so doing, you will relieve them. That's what you tell them to do. That's what Srila Prabhupada came to do. They saw the suffering, they commiserated with the suffering, they empathized with them, and they wanted to relieve them. And they gave us the techniques, the 5 that I mentioned this morning. Chanting the holy name of the Lord, hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, associating with devotees, which we're all doing now, worshiping the deity, which we do. Some of you have your own deities, which is wonderful. You worship them with incense, you worship them with flowers, with light, with water, and last but not least, to live in a holy atmosphere, so that in that atmosphere you can take those vibrations and fortify yourself, insulate yourself against those horrible vibrations of lust and anger and greed and envy and illusion and hostility and vengeance and all those terrible things which make us fools of us. So I want to thank you very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada Ki. Are there any questions? Any comments? I'll take you this one moment. Any other questions? Okay, Mother Anjali, go ahead.
Thank you for explaining the 3 main reasons for Lord Chaitanya's internal energy. If you could also explain two questions. One, what were the internal energies of the Panchatattva? Because I understand that even one of them was actually Radharani, making sure that Lord Chaitanya was actually doing the feelings and the pastimes correctly of Radharani. And then the second question is, why is it? Yes. Yes. So the internal energies of why they were following Lord Chaitanya, and why is it that during Antya-lila, these internal energies were not there, and it was just Vishaka and Radharani?
That is Lord Chaitanya's choice. That's what he wanted to do. He simply wanted to be absorbed in, as I already mentioned, in love of Krishna. That's it. And the only two people who were with him, which I mentioned, Ramana and Lawrence from Damodar, they were aiding and abetting that process. He didn't want to be with anyone. They were simply, you might say, voices who quoted verses from the scriptures. And when he would hear that, that would set in motion that, you might say, snowball of effect of ecstasy in him. And his feeling of separation and closeness simultaneously. Closeness in the sense that he was seeing Krishna, and on the other hand, he was not touching Krishna, because as I mentioned, that's a palpable or tangible thing, as opposed to a subtle internal thing. Now, the other question I really can't answer, I'm not going to give you that regarding Vidya Pandit having any effect. All I know is that Vidya Pandit is extremely devoted, so devoted to what he went to the extent of leading a service that he had, which was in one of the temples. He was the pujari, and he was he had taken Kshetra Sannyas. Kshetra Sannyas means you stay in one area, you don't travel around. And when Lord Chaitanya wanted to go to Vrindavan and began, he left his service in his home, and he began to follow Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became very upset and very disturbed, at least externally. And he told him, this you should not do, because everybody will blame me for you leaving your service. And it does not set a very good example. And so the doctor said, well, I'm not going because of you, I'm just going. So he went up ahead of them, and then he waited. And then finally, Lord Chaitanya said, please go. And this is just nothing but sense gratification. It was transcendental. Nonetheless, Lord Chaitanya said, set the proper example. Look at me, I'm a sannyasi. I'm bearing all sorts of difficulties, tribulations, trials, problems on my body. For what reason? To set a perfect example. Will you do the same? And by doing that, you will make me look good instead of making me look bad. That's as far as that. The exact answer to your question, I don't want to bulldoze you. Okay. Any other question? Yes, please.
So, as we all
We have another question here, so we can keep it down.
as we all know that Lord Chaitanya came to divide the Sankirtan movement.
Yeah.
Right. So my question is, what happened between the time that Lord Krishna was there and then Lord Chaitanya? What happened to the Vaishnava movement in between? Why kind of subdued from
Yeah. So the question that is being asked is that after Krishna left, after some time, 5,000 years passed, and Lord Krishna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, he revived the original Sanatana Dharma, the eternal teachings, what we should do, what we should not do, how we should do, how we should not do. He set it in motion in the form of discourse with Arjuna. So then things were going fine for some time. We had King Yudhishthira, he was ruling the world. And then after some time he left. And then after Yudhishthira, what was it?
Parikshit.
Parikshit?
He was Abhimanyu's son.
Was Parikshit next? I thought there was somebody by some time. Parikshit was the grandson. Yeah, but who's the son of Yudhishthira? Who's ruling at that time? Anyway, at some point. Huh?
They all died in Mahabharata. It was Parikshit.
Parikshit, okay. Yeah, so Parikshit Maharaj, he is the ruler. Yes, that's correct. Now I recall. So he's the ruler, and he set the perfect example. He did not let any impurity creep into his kingdom, and when impurity did, he banished it out of the kingdom. So what happens is that, as it's mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, whenever, wherever there is a decline in religious practice and a predominant rise of pure religion, at that time he said. And then in another part in the Bhagavad Gita, in the 4th chapter, Krishna says, I instructed this imperishable science of yoga to Vivasvan, the sun god, and the sun god, Vivasvan, he instructed to Manu, the father of mankind, and Manu instructed it to Ikshvaku, his son. Then this supreme science was thus received in disciplined succession, and the saintly kings understood it in that way. But in course of time, the succession was broken, and the science as it is, the science as it is no longer the way it is supposed to be. And then it goes on further to say that very ancient science of the relationship with the Supreme Lord is today told by me to you, because you are my devotee as well as my friend, and therefore you can understand the transcendental mystery of this science. So this is what happens. People begin to distort the teachings. The teaching is given this way, but if I have a special agenda, I have a special aim, a special goal, I will twist the teachings so that they will serve my purpose. And then everybody will think, especially if it's a king, he twists the teachings, makes you think that that's what the original teaching were, and then everybody begins to speak not as it is or as it was, but as the new king gives it, which is twisted, which is whimsical or impulsive. So that happens. That is the gradual development of impurity. Impurity on the basis of false ego. Oh, what difference does it make? It will serve my purpose and it will do good to the community, to the world, so I'll twist the teachings. So that is what Srila Prabhupada came to untwist the teachings and to bring them back to what they originally were, how Krishna gave them and what Krishna actually meant. We can see there are hundreds of different Bhagavad Gitas with countless interpretations. And that should not be, there should be just one meaning, and with that one meaning, that's what we all should be following. And that's why Srila Prabhupada encouraged us to distribute these books en masse by the millions if possible, so that people would have an antithesis, something opposed to all these other interpretations, and come back to the original idea that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. Our business is to serve the Supreme Lord, not to become the Supreme Lord or act like the Lord, which will cause us misery. But if we take the position of the servant of the Lord, we will be blessed, we will develop humility, and through that humility, we will not only prevail, but we will be truly and genuinely ecstatic. Okay, does that answer your question? Any other questions? Yes? I'm not here. Could I have you come up a little closer?
I'll be louder. What were the 4 pillars of society?
Sure. The 4 pillars of society are truthfulness is the first one. Austerity is the second one, or discipline. Truthfulness, austerity, mercy is the third one. That's very important. And cleanliness is the fourth one. If you take away mercy and you just have justice, then you have a very harsh world, a hard heart. So even a judge, when he has to make a decision, they always consider the background of the person along with the foreground. Did he do some altruistic work, humanitarian work, kindly acting as your Boy Scout, was your Girl Scout? Did you do some nice things along with holding up a bank? So So they try to weigh some of these. So mercy is the part that considers the more benign and more beneficent qualities of a person. And justice is 2 and 2 make 4, and 4 and 4 make 8. So you should get this. Mercy can soften the blow, so to speak, of the justice. Okay? So is that it? Are we all ready? Is prasadam time now? Okay, so thanks so much. I hope you all enjoy your prasadam, and I look forward to being with you again, hopefully in several months, or possibly 6 months, a year. But please do practice the 5. I'll mention again: chanting the holy name, associating with the, hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam or the Bhagavad Gita, associating with devotees, worshiping the deities we have here, and what is the last one? Living, yes, living in the holy Dham. And make your Dham is your place, your environment. Make it holy. Put beautiful pictures all around your room. Put beautiful literatures and books around. Get nice videos of biblical stories, things which will make you think of God, love God, serve God, honor God, glorify God, bow down to God, and become God-like. Hare Krishna.